Good day, D7 Avis here, and I want to continue with the harassment issues here. And this video, I want to pay attention to the fact that the claimant gives no replying affidavit and the various scenarios in that scene. Here's a warning. Please read this indemnity warning and familiarize yourself with it. Should you not agree, then please leave this video. Normally, the process for the harassment case works like this. You see, you have a notice of motion to all parties, where the person come and go and apply for the harassment court order. And all the parties, then the other parties, as accused, get are informed by an officer of the court. You're supposed to get an answering affidavit. The victim then, alleged victim, gets the chance for an applying affidavit. Maybe they can file oral extra affidavits, and then you get your oral evidence if the judge think it is necessary, and then you get the judgment, the magistrate. Now, skipping any steps can be risky. Ne? Follow Mother Steve, follow the procedures, a little bit time consuming. Now, motion of notice, the process starts is notice of motion is you want something from the court. Maybe you need some time, want evidence from the other side, or trying to get the case thrown out. You have to tell everything. You can't just surprise the judge and the other side. You file a notice of motion to say, hi, on this date, I'm going to ask the judge for this, that thing. And the other side gets a chance to respond. You can argue why the magistrate shouldn't give you what your opponent is asking for, and then the judge decide in the short hearing. Sometimes just on paper, or the judge will say yes or no. However, that was now the general thing. Harassment is an ex parte application. Ex parte, under Rule 65A of the Uniform Rules of the Court in South Africa, is when you ask for the court for an order without notifying the other party, in advance. Usually both parties say, no. Yeah. And this is only allowed in special cases where the law specifically provide for such things, such as harassment. Yeah. You don't need to give the other notice, party notice, I am going to apply, give the court notice that I'm going to do this. No. Ex parte, out of your own, from one side. I applied because I believe my life is in danger. That's why it must be justified. You must explain your affidavit why it's urgent, why it is impossible to notify the other party, and then you get temporary orders only. The court may grant a short-term order like an interim interdict, but later require a full hearing where the other side is present. And in this case, full honesty is required. You must disclose all key facts, even those that hurt your case. Hiding the inner info can get the order overturned later, that we discussed in the previous video. So ex parte processes is different from an ordinary motion to the court. You get your direct application to the court, and then the court decides. Yes, there's an interim order. No, there's not an interim order. After the court decided about the interim or not interim, then you get your first hearing, first coming together, just what's going on, do you agree with it? Now the court gives you time to file an answering affidavit. The victim and the person who claims must give a replying affidavit. Sometimes the extra affidavits, the oral evidence, and then your final order. As I said before, just leaving out any of these steps and ignoring any steps can be a little bit risky. Ignoring and skipping any steps can be risky. If one party abandons the process, fails to file affidavits, man, I don't want it more. I'm sick and tired of this nonsense. The court may issue a default judgment, but that's in general case. A default judgment usually favors the cooperating party. Yet it is not automatic, and it depends on has the participating party's case met the legal requirements. Is it a legal case? Is it going on? Were the papers properly served? Was the absent party correctly notified? When you don't care, does the evidence on record support the case of the cooperating party? And is the court's decision fair? Now, a court will try to be fair and just. But should you ignore it? No. The court can make a default judgment against you. What's a default judgment? The default judgment happens when one party doesn't show up in court or does not respond. The judge can then decide the case based on what the side attending the court says and available evidence. And he attacked me, there's a photos, what, and he didn't reply, so what must I say otherwise? Decide on, here's the evidence. A default judgment will not be given automatically. Especially if the claimant is a vulnerable person, the court will first look for justice. For example, an old person come and filed a complaint and person didn't pick up. What's going on here? Was the person intimidated? The child was intimidated? What's going on? The court is here to look for justice. And another thing is, if they don't pitch up, you must request a default judgment. A judgment doesn't come on its own. Scenario 1 of where there can be a default judgment is the applicant fails to file a replying affidavit and the court uses affidavits only. The court decides to final the case with written arguments only and the applicant gives no replying affidavit. And then there is a rule, what they call the Plaskon-Evans rule applies. And this means that your motivated version is uncontested and is accepted as the truth unless the applicant's version is obviously more credible. You say, but she says I harassed her. No, I did not. I wasn't even obvious there. I was not obviously there. I didn't do it. And these are my reasons why I say I'm not guilty of my mom and my dad. Oh, but it's so obviously untruthful, your response, where you say the applicant had proof that you were there, that you done, you say my mom done it, my dad. It's obviously so, where you're saying your replying evidence obviously unfair, then the court takes your version. If your version is true, it's uncontested, the person didn't answer, it's credible. The Plaskon-Evans rule states that in the motion proceedings where factual disputes arise, the court will generally accept the respondent your version unless it is far-fetched or clearly untenable. Scenario 2 is the applicant fails to file a replying affidavit but later submit new evidence during the oral hearing in court. If the trial goes to oral evidence but the applicant did not provide the written replying evidence beforehand, you object to submission. No. Of any new evidence, as this may prejudice you. You may even submit a formal objection to late evidence in the protection from harassment proceedings. But you object, like this is now where you maybe have an objection formal. You say, I respectfully submit the applicant's intent to introduce new evidence at this stage is not only procedurally irregular, but it's an transparent abuse of this honorable court's process. This case represents a malicious and false allegation because I'm innocent, I'm talking about other things. Weaponizing the Protection from Harassment Act to inflict further harm. The applicant's failure to comply with court order timelines while now seeking to ambush me with untested evidence proves their bad faith and department's course rebuke. The advantage today is that you can use AI to get a format of the application to the court where you submit no late filings, etc. So this, you do it. It's your right. You are innocent, so other people mustn't come and play nonsense with you. I have a few set of arguments that I use and advise. My first objection against the submission of new evidence at the late stage after you see there's a time when you must have submit. The person did not submit. Now during the court stage, the person wants to come and have new introduction. You say it defeats the purpose of the written reply. Basically, to have the reply. The basis, the reason why there was an opportunity for the person to give an oral reply well ahead of the hearing or written reply is to give you time to prepare counter arguments. So it must be the oral reply, just a written reply, what? Well ahead of the hearing. No, the person doesn't come, so. I mean, why do you want to come now? The court gave you the case. Another thing is against the submission of new evidence is based on the rules of the court and the requirement to strictly adhere to them. Look, the fact of the man, the rules of the court were issued under the Supreme Court Act, and compliance is mandatory for all parties involved. Look, you agreed. Ne? We agreed on this procedures, and then, you agreed to this procedures, and now you come and want to disobey it. The uniform rules of the court states with regards to ex parte applications that the court hearing the matter may adjourn the same upon such term as to the filing of further affidavits by either applicant or otherwise as it deems fit. The courts, in agreement with all parties, deemed it fit to set times that answering and replying affidavits should be filed by the relevant parties within reasonable specified times. This should enable each party as well as the court to properly consider all evidence. Now this is, the court, in terms of its own rules, adjourned it, and you agreed to it. So everyone can be fair. Now why do you want to not reply, and then at a late stage, at the file, during the trial, want to submit new evidence? Look, the applicant has a right not to file a replying affidavit under Rule 6.5. However, by agreeing at the outset to the time frames set by the court, she has forgo the right not to reply in favor of a duty to reply. She cannot exercise that duty to reply at the last hour. She did not want to reply. No, I have a duty to reply, I said, but I didn't do so at the time. The applicant is now bound by her original affidavit and cannot introduce new evidence at this stage without a valid excuse. The uniform rules of the court 27.3 requires good cause for late filings, and the applicant did not offer valid reason for his or delay. The third objection against the submission of new evidence is based on case law. Case law demands adherence to court timetables. There is the Constitutional Court that did not condone late submissions by respondents when there were no valid reasons for them. This is in Grootboom versus the National Prosecuting Authority. And then the High Court writes, also, this is another case that then, the respondent would be prejudiced if the court were to give regard to the documentation filed at the last hour without affording the respondent even an opportunity to indicate if they were not objecting to such. In light of the applicant having not filed a replying affidavit, the version of the respondent remains uncontested on the non-existence of bona fide evidence. So, use these case laws. If we agreed on the time, follow the time. Don't come after the time at the last hour, submit things. The Constitutional Court did not allow the parties of the appellant and the respondent to merely change the court. The court has its own rules. You can't, you and the party, the court writes, the Constitutional Court has inherent power to protect and regulate its own process. The postponement of a matter set down for hearing on a particular it cannot be claimed as a right. An applicant for postponement seeks an indulgence from the court. Please, sir, can I? You come and, as you determine the price. No, it doesn't work like that. The fourth exception against the submission of new evidence is based on the Protection from Harassment Act itself. And this act, in Section 3.1, prescribes a speedy resolution to this case and the applicant's arguments that her case was urgent. Ne? The intention and core purpose of the PHA is to provide immediate, speedy protection to victims. Hence, the Act stipulates that the court must, as soon as is reasonably possible, consider an application. Now, to enable the speedy recourse to victims, the Act further provides for ex parte application and the granting of interim protection orders. So as soon as possible, we want to have it. Now, give it to the person. Even if you don't need to involve the other party. And it is exactly the Act's character of urgency and speed which makes it useful to be used in combination with other charges. Now, you want at this late stage to, without reason, valid reason, give new arguments and then postpone it. No, it doesn't work it. The applicant motivated in the application must be considered as a matter of urgency. She was not granted an interim protection order. Ne? That's what you say. Okay, the applicant, his or her, whoever it is, they said most usually this also. This is sort of urgency. Now, the applicant had many opportunities prior to this court appearance to demonstrate the seriousness about the request for urgency. She pleaded for an application, a request for urgency, which aligns with the Act. She could submit a returning affidavit on the agreed time. She could have submitted a returning affidavit after the agreed time, followed by a valid excuse and the request for condemnation. She could do it. There was nothing. She didn't do it. So, you were not serious about the urgency. So why do you want now to come sort of, this matter is not urgent for you? A request for the late submission of evidence now during this court appearance will by its very nature postpone the resolution of this harassment case. This is because it is in the interest of justice that the respondent gets enough time to consider the evidence. This time for the respondent to intelligently consider the arguments of the applicant. It is, after all, the reason why there is a time period between the submission of the replying evidence and the court case. Such a late postponement, brought about by the actions of the applicant, goes against the purpose of the Act. It also contradicts a claim of urgency that she put out in her own argument. I wish to remind the court, and also happily prefer that. No, they wanted perhaps a later date. No. Your fifth objection is based on the prejudice you will suffer. You have time and financial burdens. Allowing new evidence will add additional time for me to consider evidence that should have been resolved at a proper procedural stage. Now, further legal cost is time. Time. Another postponement, ongoing emotional and professional strain. A delay would prolong the significant stress of having an unresolved protection order looming over me, adversely affecting both my personal well-being and professional reputation. People think that's XYZ of you because it's the. And then procedural unfairness. The applicant chose not to file a replying affidavit, effectively bypassing the opportunity to contest my version in the prescribed manner. Allowing new evidence at this late stage with the reward of failure to comply with court procedures, whilst he's subjecting me to further litigation burdens. This amounts to an abuse of the process where the cost mechanism are being weaponized to prolong proceedings rather than to serve justice. Now, the legal definition of prejudice in procedural law, prejudice refers to a party being disadvantaged in a legally significant way, such as being deprived of fair opportunity to present your case. You inquire unnecessary costs or delays to the other side's procedural phase or suffering harm that could have been avoided if proper legal proceedings were followed. Thank you very much for watching this video. We love constructive comments and criticism. Please like and share this video. And please subscribe.